Hey, you just got hired. Throw you, here's your tools, you're out there. It's not what happens. The people coming up nowadays don't have that experience. I like to say a lot of people never have their dad yell at them for holding the flashlight wrong. So
The last thing the industry needs is another YouTube where people are just watching content or watching videos that are just inaccurate.
All those man hours that were saved, as well as the number of work orders and the count of work orders dramatically dropping.
The on-site managers, the leasing managers, and vice versa, us maintenance people, also have to understand how the rent works in order for us to get a better understanding and how everything is kind of separate, but at the same time, how everything's aligned. AI and implementation of what we do was going to bring us to the population that we need to get to train. It's a part of the training, attracting with the technology. The reason why some people don't want to do it, like you say, it's not cost effective for them because they think they're losing money. We have to change that. We got to change that programming and tell them no. It's actually the opposite. But the only way they're going to understand it, I'm going to let you know this,
with the majority of the multifamily industry. So what we at the Maintenance Academy are going to do is we are creating a Netflix, YouTube style maintenance training platform full of short, anywhere from 30 seconds to a maximum of 4 to 5 minutes videos that will cover anything and everything apartment maintenance, from HVAC, plumbing, electrical, pool, soft skills, leadership, you name it. I want to have content for it. I want to have videos for it. So what we did, in our part of in my part of the country, I'm in South Carolina. We noticed that the level of applicant that we were starting to get had little to no experience, and so we went to our local apartment association and we said, hey, we need to put some things together to provide hands-on training. And so with our local apartment association, the Maintenance Appreciation Committee, we started to do free, we call them the Maintenance Trilogy. So we partner with local suppliers who are part of that sponsorship, and they provide free plumbing classes on electrical and gas water heaters. They provide they bring in vanity bases, and we install sinks and pop-ups and faucets and connect supply lines. We partnered with Entryway, and we got people in to knock holes in the wall and repair with sheetrock. And so we partnered with a lot of people at the local apartment association to make this training hands-on. So for us, we found a need, and instead of asking,
Which obviously is how app work, or the beginnings of app work, was really there, and just through the lens of an operator, seeing how important maintenance was, the impact that maintenance had on our operations, and then kind of taking a broader look at the technology that was available to us in the space, which is what led us to create our own technology and then eventually bring it to market. But one of the areas that we've kind of noticed, as both as an operator and then as a vendor too, was just maintenance education in general. Obviously we all know the career paths in the maintenance space is a very difficult one. You look at the leadership makeup of any large property management company, or any property management company at all. And almost nobody on the leadership side, or very few people on the leadership side, have a maintenance background. Right. That's just one problem. You take another problem, and I think this is a problem that probably impacts, and we probably feel just as much, if not more. Maintenance is also an aging industry. There's a lot of people leaving the industry, not as many people coming to the industry. So creating content, creating educational content to help those people that are coming to the industry, to help them be able to learn and grow, to us was very important. As a separate project, nothing to do with app work, we partnered together with Mark to work with him on launching this concept called the Maintenance Academy. Like Mark said, it's going to be entirely free for our end users. This is not a this is just a way of working with the industry to give back to the industry. So essentially, we're creating this platform where educators, people like yourselves, can come on, create content. Obviously, there's going to be some kind, a quality control process, a quality review process that Mark is putting in place to make sure that we only have quality content on the site, which is obviously a very important thing in the industry. There's a lot of misinformation that's going around, and the last thing that people want is people. The last thing the industry needs is another YouTube where people are just watching content or watching videos that are just inaccurate or misleading. But that's the idea. That's what we're trying to create. We've been welcomed with open arms with some in terms of this initiative with some really large bodies, including several apartment associations that we're partnering with on this initiative, several large vendors that we're partnering with, several from suppliers that even to manufacturers who's going to help create content for the platform. But for us, I think in addition to a lot of the call it professional content that's important that we have up there, we also want it to be a content that's educator led, so people within the industry, within the maintenance industry, I mean even down to maintenance technicians and maintenance supervisors, and then obviously anybody along anybody higher up there too, within the chain to be a part of the process and help join the program and create content for us. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish. The invitation for everybody that's on this call, whether it's here live or that's watching this on YouTube or some of the other places, the invitation is open to reach out to myself or Mark to join the program, join the academy, and again help us give back to the industry. And I do have with me a super quick, just to give you guys like a sneak peek of what it's going to look like. I'd love to show it to you guys, get some feedback, hear your thoughts. And just for context, by the way, this has been in the works for the last couple of months already. We are aiming to launch this in June. So we're still a few months out, but obviously, we're going into high gear now. We're working with several dozen educators, people like yourselves, who's already committed to providing content for us, who's already getting content over to us. So it's actually getting built out really nicely and coming along really, really in a really cool way. I guess before I actually show it to everybody, does anybody? I'd be curious to hear if there's any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions based on what Mark and I have shared so far.
I think it's great what you guys are doing. My name is Jose Murillo. I'm a regional maintenance manager in New Mexico for Greystar. One thing that I've always noticed in general, just across the industry, which I know everybody's talked about time and time again, don't want to beat a dead horse of it, but just the lack of the training thereof for us in maintenance. I mean, we see it across the board where there's a lot of different types of training, but direct training itself, and I've gone out to build out our own training curriculum as well for here in New Mexico and using some other platforms. So I'm really excited to see what you all are looking to do in doing this, especially being that it's going to be free. It's something that's definitely going to be imperative and great, especially in short form content, as we know in the day and age we live in. Our attention spans, given that we're on our phones all the time, I think have shortened, and so that short form content and getting to the point and saying, hey, ohm out the relay, that's what it is, or the sequencer, and that's what it is on, whatever the case may be, for them to really just kind of look something up. I'm just curious if you guys are going to be using like an AI kind of platform to it so that they can type in, hey, we're having a situation, the heating element's not turning on right, and then they'll tell them these are the three things that can be impacting a sequencer relay or what have you, right, depending on the situation. So are you guys looking to use AI within this platform as well?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. For right now, the idea is just to create content, which will later serve towards training material for our AI.
Okay.
So that's the idea. So step one is we first got to get the content, and then once we have a database, our goal is to hopefully get about 10,000 videos on there, and then we can use the data from that 10,000 videos to train a model, so that it could be, to your point, I think there's a lot of benefits, a lot of different use cases for how we can help make that content easier to digest using AI.
And just on the apartment association involvement, we are partnering with, working on partnerships with several apartment associations, and the way the associations that we're working with handle education. A lot of them offer in-person education, but a lot of them record education sessions and are part of a larger collab, so that the associate. I'm in our AE's office right now. I'm teaching KMT. I just broke free so I can come over and be a part of this call. This association is part of a collab with 26 other apartment associations. So by partnering, it gets this information out to the other apartment associations, and again, we'll just have just a massive database of information that starts at the local level. And Adrian knows this. I'm a huge fan of getting involved and being a part of the local apartment association. That's where you're going to see the best education opportunities for maintenance personnel in our industry. It's going to start local. So we're doing everything we can to make sure we're arming local affiliates with proper training.
I want to get your info because I'm actually doing the same thing. I'm not doing a CAMT. I just cut away for lunch now. I'm doing a CPO class right now.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I'm actually sitting in our same office as what you would. I would love to touch base with you guys to provide this, because I'm doing the EPA, the CPO, and then they've asked me to do other trainings for them as well. I'd really like to get with you guys so that if I can help in getting involved in any way, to collab with you all so that we can provide this for the Apartment Association of New Mexico. And of course, I'll talk with them, make sure, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to turn away free training and being able to. So I just want to throw that out real quick before I get away and something passes me.
I just put my email in the chat. So if you want to just
Awesome.
follow up with me individually when we're done, and we'll connect. But
Okay.
But yeah, anything I can do to help anyone on this call with whatever I can do to help provide maintenance training, I'm happy to do so.
If I'm not mistaken, this is Roy's first call with us. Roy, is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Please introduce yourself to the group, sir.
My name is Roy Metcalf. I'm with SoCal Pacific Management out here in California. We have about 25 properties here, and we have other properties throughout the state of Texas, Kansas, and Florida as well. We are a small company. So what a few years ago, I got onto a system that is based out of Texas, which is called Interplay.
Mm-hmm.
Not very expensive. I pay about $260 a year per employee. And what we do, and it monitors everything. You make assignments, but the basis of it is, it goes through the training, then it goes through where it kind of guides your hands a little bit. And then the final part, and it's all 3D as well. And it goes through the final part where it tells you what's wrong, and then you go through and diagnose it. It has little tools to the side you grab, you tell it where to put the testers. It's on everything except for the phone, because the phone is like just too small to do interactions like that. So a lot of my guys either do it on their tablet they have, or they do it on the computer at work. So it's been a pretty good system for us, but more is better, kind of how we kind of do things, being such a small, young company. We're only about 5 years old. So we're still out there kind of learning new things and adopting new systems.
Yeah. Welcome, Roy. I do want to switch to Brandon. He's one of our other special guests to share a few great things that he has in the works out there for the multifamily industry, for training specifically. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, it's nice to talk to everyone. A lot of familiar faces in here that we work with in the industry. I'm Brendan, one of the founding members over here at Skullcat. We've been building a training platform for the trades across appliance repair, plumbing, HVAC, general maintenance, plumbing, and we've ended up building close to, on our platform, 1,500 hours worth of training now. A lot focused on HVAC, work with a lot of the largest companies in the US across all trades. And our platform's heavily set on being mobile for technicians to use their training on that just in time. And then also just that continued education where you can customize a path for someone when they just start with your organization to all the way being a full-blown supervisor maintenance tech. So We bring a lot of different simulations that can be done through your phone or on web. Everything is optimized just to be done from your cell phone. Really building a community and control switches for everyone to be able to go through. But super happy to hear that everyone's actually investing in training in this industry and everyone really cares about it, because it's going to take an army to change what we are all trying to work on. So any resources that we can give someone new coming into this industry is phenomenal, because like we talked about a little bit, Mark, is the industry is, hey, you just got hired, throw you, here's your tools, you're out there. It's not what happens. The people coming up nowadays don't have that experience. I like to say a lot of people never have their dad yell at them for holding the flashlight wrong. So a lot of those, if you can put the resources in their hand to give them a better chance of success, we can drop that retention rate of people leaving the industry and actually capture them in, a lot like it did for you guys, where you've been able to move up and have very successful careers.
And that was SkillCat?
Yep.
Got it.
Welcome, Brandon. We're glad to have you here today. Jason Simpson, did you have the opportunity to make your announcement?
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh.
All right, guys. So my name is Jason Simpson. I'm a service manager with Greystar. I wear a lot of different hats too. I also own my own turning company as well. And I'm on the board of directors for my local apartment association. Today, I'm wearing my local apartment association hat. And me and the chair of my Next Gen committee are working on a program right now where we're going to be using an SDF grant to provide in-person training. Our motto is advocate, educate, and support. The problem with that, guys, is the only educate they have is me. I am one person, and I have two full-time jobs. I am busy, and I cannot take off work all the time. So I can provide a lot of the workshop training that they're wanting. But what we're really looking for is to use this grant money to provide more experienced trainers to bring them in to kind of fill these gaps. With this SDF grant program, we're looking at get about $500,000 towards in-person training. We're partnering with a couple of our other smaller associations. So we're based in Midland. We're trying to partner with Midland and Lubbock. We're actually getting on the call right after this to kind of talk about some more of the details. And what I'm really trying to get out of this, guys, is I'm wanting to see if there's any interest in this group here of anybody who would like to come down and train and provide in-house workshops. And this is paid, by the way, guys. We're using this grant money to pay you as well. There is only so much time in the day for myself, and I can't bear the full brunt of it every month. And if there's any interest in here to join this program we're working on, it's kind of groundbreaking for our area. Nobody in our area is doing anything like it. I'm a firm believer in not acting your role. And if I don't do it, then who else will? You know what I mean? And so if there's any interest in here, guys, I'm going to drop my email into the chat. And I would love for you guys to just shoot me an email, shoot me a number. Let's call, let's chat, let's see what we can do. And like I said, guys, it's a paid opportunity to get your name out there, to get better at educating and training. And really hoping to hear from somebody.
Hey, Jason, I'll connect with you. I know I talked with, I think it's Stacy over there, to talk about the EPA and your
Stacey
CPO
King.
classes. To talk about the EPA 608 and then the CPO for Spanish in the fall. So, but I'll connect with you as well and seeing how I can help you guys out up there as well. Because I think you're only about 6-7 hours, of course, from where I'm from.
Definitely need an EPA Spanish, because while I can teach the English, guys, my Spanish un poco es no bueno. And I can't. It's not good, guys. I cannot do it. But like I said, guys, we're trying to develop a program, coordinate with other associations in other cities, because really at the end of the day, even if we're not all in the same company, we're all in the same trade. When we're all better trained, we have a better industry as a whole. And let's be honest, half of us have probably been with different companies anyway. We all benefit with a better trained workforce.
Thank you, Jason. I have an announcement for the group as well. The Upstate New York Apartment Association reached out to me along the same lines. They're looking for KMT trainers. So if you're interested or you know someone that is, message me directly. I'll put you in contact with my contact person there, and let's make it happen. They also, it's not like a free situation. It's a paid gig. So if you have availability or know someone that might be interested, by all means. With that being said, I like to kind of go around the table, but if you have some specifics on one of the topics that we're touching on today, please use the raise hand feature. I'm gonna be on the lookout, and then I'll give you the floor. Right? Best practices for training implementation. I think I like to go here with an educator, and then Charles, would you like to share some some tips from your experience with best experience on methods of training? What has been,
Sure.
because you've been an educator for a long time too.
Yeah, so don't look at the age thing, guys. So, yeah, I started right out of a boat tech program back in high school, 2 years of HVAC. Took some advanced commercial courses, blah blah blah. And, kind of just fell into the multifamily industry because it was a free gig, right? I got a paycheck, got a free apartment back then. This is talking, I hate to say it, 40-ish years ago. So, yeah, no one was doing what you're all are talking about doing in this industry. I grew up in this industry. I think tried to build up some of a format or a structure of what you're trying to continue. So, training has always been lax or non-existent. Over the years, we've evolved into different companies to put training programs in place. So we really try to get more hands-on, take them out to a vacant unit or to a property and take the whole group and get 20 or 30 guys together, your team together, to get them out there, get them all engaged. Two things come out of that. One, everyone's speaking the same language, seeing kind of through the same eyes as ownership or management wants them to. Two is the wealth of knowledge that get bundled up by bringing a team together, or in this format, sharing at this level, is pretty impressive. So we've all got a lot of training, and when you're teaching, you're learning, right? You're trying to teach, but you got to do so much research to get to that point to feel confident that what you're saying is going to impact the people you're trying to share that knowledge with. So, tips from my standpoint, I'm an old school guy. I'm a hands-on. The guys say, "Hey, I can do this. I can do this." I'll pick up the texture hopper, go spray that wall, and show me you can texture that wall or tear it out. Also, would be getting everyone up to speed on all the little gadgets and tools. Right, extremely important that these young guys see what really the gadgets and the tools that are out there, because they're going to start with the basics, right? Your little tool belt with your nut grounder, your pliers, maybe it's a meter, it's not a multimeter, it's not an amp meter. So try to make sure you're steering them in the right direction with the right tools. And most of these young guys, I say young as in I'm referencing some of these Votech schools that are pumping people out. You as supervisors, get them steered in the right direction, get them equipped with the right tools, because without the tools, they can have the knowledge, but they're not going to be efficient. So, and the other is go back to the old school, try to get them as these websites you all are talking about, and you're building these programs, the technical tips of the, there's ways that you have figured out it's such a unique trick or something that you do to fix something. Share those with them, blend that into the base knowledge or the base courses that you're teaching. Make sure it's just not a cookie cutter course. Give them all the tricks of the trade, whether it's tools or just tips on how to do something quicker. It's good to see. It's interesting to be involved in this group. It's my first time, so Adrian and I overlapped a little bit. Now that we have this technology that we can reach out and touch people now and share stuff like we never have before. So that's not my strong suit. I'm technically okay. I've been on a national director for years, but mine is, if you met me in Texas, you meet me in Kansas City, we can put our heads together and we can figure out a lot of stuff together. So that's just my thoughts. Blend in all the little extra bits and pieces as you build these programs out.
Thank you, Charles. I want to turn it over to Jose, another educator right here, part of our group. What are your thoughts on the most effective hands-on training methods?
So as Roy, we adopted this year, push for interplay. As Jason said, I'm only one guy as well, right? And I love training. It's probably where I shouldn't say probably, but where my passion is at, and is educating. And just as the gentleman was saying here beforehand, we're educating ourselves by doing so. I think as well, what's helping me is stay abreast and what's going on with changes as we're continuing, because I got to continue to study this information so that I'm not looking like a clown when I'm up there, and we know what I'm talking about and what we're training on. What I've learned, again, hands-on is always the best. However, sometimes from certain group sessions and so forth, it can be a little bit more difficult, and sometimes so it's where we adopted the interplay, and where I also feel is in transitioning as well. Whether it's a supervisor or even our techs, a lot of them are tech savvy, especially the younger crowd, and so forth. And I think as well as in implementing some like interplay, using the simulations. I love that it's able to mirror, show everybody else what they're doing, but also it's building that skill and that confidence, and maybe others that are a little bit more challenged in the sense of getting into the tech part of things, and it's getting them into making sure that we're training on hands-on as well within the tech section. But really, the hands-on is always best. As always, building electrical training boards. I've got a couple that I've mimicked and mocked to copy, like Craig Migliaccio. I don't know if you guys have ever followed him. If you haven't, definitely check him out. He's got a lot of free resources where you can build training boards that are going to mimic what you would have as low voltage, mid voltage, using your transformers, fan relays, and so forth. And then what I also like to do is, one part that I always feel in this industry is a lack thereof is just utilizing a multimeter and how to utilize it. And that way they're not challenged and scared to use it. When you look at these things, and even if they're coming out of the vocational schools, we would hope that they understand what ohms is, or how to read ohms and continuity, amperage and voltage, and the differences between DC and AC. And what I'd like to do is also, which is not not too expensive, honestly. When you go to Lowe's and places like that, you can find multimeters that are reliable, that are going to give you a hot stick, receptacle tester, and then your multimeter. And what I like for our teams to do is walk away. So I'll do a training, say on that training session, on how to troubleshoot electrical, just electrical 101 on HVAC, right? From your low voltage up to into the sequencers and fan relays, and how it all works together. And then also showing them how to read, a schematic. But what I like is that they're able to walk away with that multimeter, but now they've also given the training on how to use it. And that's one thing that I feel is definitely impacted things in my region with our teams. Matter of fact, last month I had one of my supervisors reach out and said, "Hey, Jose, when you guys doing the next electrical training?" Because they know that we're going to probably have them walking away with something. Again, it doesn't get too expensive. Again, depends size as well, but the hands-on is going to be the biggest portion in doing so, and just trying to get those things. And then the other part is implementing those supervisors that you have this year. My goal is to get my supervisors more involved as well, so that they're starting to build more of that mentorship. It's like, I'm not too sure. I think it might have been Mark saying where, they show up on site, they give them the keys, the clipboard, and they say, "Hey, here's 10 work orders, go have at it." And that's all they're left with. I want to build more onto a mentorship as well, where getting I think, supervisors involved in some of these training programs and overseeing and having oversight on what we're training, whether it's how to test for bad refrigerant on R22. We know that we're phased out with R22. We've got the 454 and R32 coming in. They need to know how to test those things. They may not be pulling the vacuum, but at least to test certain things and say, "Hey, we need to save this refrigerant so that we could top off other things." And so I want to get my supervisors involved as well. And I've done that with a couple of them on some other training platforms, and has worked very well in delegating some of those. And we all like to be appreciated and know that we are needed, and it really sets a tone for us. So I do a lot of those types of things here in my region for New Mexico.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jose, very much. Dwayne, would you like to weigh in on most effective ways of training, especially the hands-on training? And
So
I want to move
sure.
to Oscar after that. So, Oscar, I know that you're off camera, but if you're ready to go back on camera to weigh in after Dwayne, then I just want to give you a little heads up.
Sure. So we found we have a maintenance library of several hundred videos called our Hawthorne University that our techs can go on at any, and again, 5 to 10 minute little clips specifying trouble areas that they want to get trained on. But then we also do what we call our quarterly road shows, which we have found that this reaches a lot more people in a shorter amount of time. And we've just had better success off the hands-on training to the road shows, because we'll go to, that's why I missed the last 2 meetings. By the way, I apologize for that. But I was traveling throughout our sites and going to the major markets and doing our roadshow trainings, where we'll go. And this focus for this roadshow was HVAC and preventative maintenance or scheduled maintenance for HVAC, in preparation of the upcoming summer months. So we go on site and we spend 4 hours in the morning with all the techs from that market, and we go through a full hands-on training. And then in the afternoon, we duplicate it with supervisors as well as any regional managers that want to attend, or any area managers that want to attend as well. And then every quarter we do that with different topics. Might be pool school, might be HVAC roadshow. One we did was structural drying and suspect growth remediation. And every time it's a little bit different, or we duplicate the HVAC roadshows, but every time new material, right? Like this year's focus was the new refrigerant rolling out and how we want to handle it, and conversions and all that fun stuff. So the hands-on stuff, to me, I've just seen where you have a better impact from it. Plus part of that is because it's mandatory for all of our people to attend, so they have to go, right? Where the Hawthorne University Library, that's a voluntary thing, right? It's just there for them to go through it as they want to, or if they have items that they need to address and they're not certain about, right? And then the last thing is we have what we call a career path, so that we actually have mentors where we take an RST2 and we set them up with a mentor to put them on the career path for an RST2 position, which would be the next step up. And we have mentors that do that and do a little bit of hands-on training by visiting their sites. And then obviously the next steps to an RST3, and then eventually to an RSS, which is a resident services supervisor. So I love the idea of the online stuff. It gives you a lot more flexibility, because most of you probably experience the same thing we do. It's really hard to get ownership to agree to let the guys go for any lengthy amount of time from the sites, which is why we only do them quarterly. I wish I could do it a lot more, but we can only get it approved to do that quarterly. So yes, if we can feed in with all the virtual stuff, that's awesome. I still do believe we still need those hands-on things and the hands-on approaches. You just don't have time to do it day to day on site with your staffs.
Dwayne, super valuable. I'd love to get you on a separate conversation, like a podcast type, with maybe somebody else, to do a panel with you and somebody else, because this barely scratches the surface. I have so many questions to ask, but because of our time restraints, then this is not gonna be today. But I love you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just reach out via email. Yep.
We'll definitely do that. Oscar, are you ready to jump in next?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, mainly, like always, we're doing a good job here, trying to pick up best ideas from everybody in the industry. I'm willing to help you, Mark. Jason, you mentioned something about instructing. I'm being an instructor right now with IREM. I'm doing the bilingual and international as well programs, and I do it here. My background, like I mentioned to you in the past, I started as a maintenance worker, but I know every position in property management because I did them all until becoming a management company myself, creating my own. But like we have mentioned in the past, we all have here all the needs of the technical, right? Everybody has a specific expertise about AC, certain things, which is great. It's going to help us and also appeal for the new generation. Part of what I'm doing right now, and I'm part of the NAA, National Association of Apartments with IREM. They have created an outreach student program where now I'm going to places to try to outreach to them. And this is very catchy because, for example, AI and implementation of what we do was going to bring us to the population that we need to get to train. It's a part of the training, attracting with the technology, and then also the one-on-one. And also, like the gentleman before me that was talking about why the people don't go to the training is because certain owners, like I was an owner of a firm, right? The reason why some people don't want to do it, like you say, it's not cost effective for them. because they think they're losing money. We have to change that. We got to change that programming and tell them no. It's actually the opposite. But the only way they're going to understand, and I'm going to let you know this, is they're number people. They go look at the numbers and the figures. They start seeing that the training is making an impact on the facilities and it's changing, and they see that it's changing and it's becoming to a positive. Trust me, they're going to change their mindset, because that's the gap between people that are running at the executive, right, and the people that are doing the work within the operations. So this is, I think, where we need to communicate as we do other trainings and try to work that and educate our industry, especially the executive people, understand that we got to get it done. It starts from the maintenance all the way to the executive, and this is where you can save a lot of the money by simply performing and doing proper training and do everything the right way, to not for good retention, growth within the staff, and then great culture. And at the same time, what I notice as I go back and I do maintenance operation trainings and all that, the on-site managers, the leasing managers, and vice versa, us maintenance people also have to understand how the rest works in order for us to get a better understanding and how everything is kind of separate, but at the same time, how everything's aligned. Okay. So I think we're also, as a maintenance personnel, we need to be open to see, okay, what is their task also? What are their challenges? And how am I important on this? For example, moving, right? If we fail, they're pressuring to get a tenant. We're pushing on a deadline. And then for whatever reason, we don't see the pressure that the leasing agent is facing, but they also don't see that we're maybe stuck. And on so you see, it has to go both ends. I think that's where the communication is, that we also, as an industry, everybody has to be able to have a well-running understanding of what it is in general. That's just my feedback.
And I'd like to add to what Oscar said about the being able to show the impact of it, right? One of the things we struggled early on with ownership groups was, what was the impact of the road shows, and is it worth sending? And the biggest thing we found is, once we found a way to measure that, and show the measurement, it made it much easier to have the conversations with ownership and get approval, right? So, like, one of them that we did a whole series on scheduled maintenance, and then addressed the programs and really implemented them and made them mandatory and made certain that the sites completed them. And then we were able to show through our work order system the dramatic drop in HVAC calls that came that next season, right? And then, of course, also the additional costs, because we were doing the filters every quarter and using a 90-day filter as opposed to a filter being requested from the resident every month, and then not having to do coil cleans as frequently, and et cetera. And all those man hours that were saved, as well as the number of work orders and the count of work orders dramatically dropping, specific for the air conditioning. And it was clearly an impact of what we did with the training and then implementing the scheduled maintenance and having them do it the right way. So I think the biggest thing is the accountability. How do you measure it? How do you measure it so that you could present it to ownership and show that it is having an impact?
I love that you're sharing this, that you're thinking forward KPIs and actually be able to make a case by showing. So thank you for sharing that. Very valuable. Jose, your hand is up. You're
Yeah, actually, I had a question for Dwayne. I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know if either you can kind of just drop a couple of other nuggets, but measuring these things. As I said, we adopted Interplay this year, and I am trying to figure out, how do we quantify. Obviously we know through training us and all that, but again, communicating this up to the execs, or into the ownership levels, so that we can continue to either push CAMT, other certifications as well. I'm curious how you're quantifying and measuring that. So, like I said, this year we just started essentially a soft rollout, was November, December timeframe in Interplay, so that the teams can start to get used to it. And then I've set assignments from a monthly, and then we do in-person training using the VR training as well, but trying to see how to go about and start logging this information in and how to quantify it, right? So that way I can show the numbers, because they're all going to be our asset managers, our ownerships, our leadership and senior leadership is going to be more into the numbers. And so how are you guys quantifying that? And it may be a longer, lengthy discussion, and maybe we need to take that topic offline, and that's fine. But I'm
Well, the
curious.
quick answer is we invested in a software program called Net Vendor.
Okay.
It's actually was a company called Service Connect first, and then Net Vendor acquired them.
Familiar with them.
The great thing about it is everything that they do was it's a la carte, right? It's not like, mobile facilities app or compliance depot, where this is our program, apply it to what you do, right? They created it for us, right down to our make ready board and everything. And it took us a good year to get it rolled out, but our inspections, everything. So when I do an HVAC training, I could take the previous year's history in Net Vendor, and I could draw it down just to the service work orders for air conditioning, heating, ventilation, right? So I can see the total across my entire portfolio, or I could draw it down to markets. So I do an HVAC roadshow, and I pull up the last year's history, and I can show every single one of the markets that had the really good participation and what the impact on their work orders that came in the future 90 days, quarter, compared to the last average of the last 4 quarters. And then I do the same thing when we do an appliance one. I'll look at the last year's history, and then I'll look at the markets that we completed it in, and we'll look at what the next 30, 60, 90 days look like. And inevitably, every time those work order counts drop. And it's the preventative maintenance, or we see the expenses. The other thing I like to target is when the HVAC calls go from, we need a new system, as opposed to, we diagnosed it and we got a bad compressor, we got to replace the compressor, or it's not the system, it's a line set. And as opposed to where we had maybe the last year, this property had 30 requests for AC system replacements, and now this quarter we've had 1, because all the other calls that came in still came in, but they're better educated, they're better trained. So we're doing repair work instead of. So there's a lot of different ways that we quantify it.
Yeah, that's good info. I don't know, Dwayne, if you could drop your email in the chat, I'd really like to pick your brain more on how you structured it. Again, I'm with Greystar, so definitely familiar with Net Vendor, and but I didn't know that I can go in there and actually quantify that stuff. So I'd love to really pick your brain some more.
They got some great insight reporting in that.
That's
app.
awesome.
So,
it's good to know.
When you break down the work order history, it breaks it down by every single category in tag words, and then it shows completion times and all that stuff. So, gentlemen, I got a 2:00 interview, so I'm gonna have to jump out. But I will, before I do, I'll throw my email in the chat, and I'll see you guys next time.
Much appreciated. Very valuable information. Thank you for being here and for sharing. Gentlemen, we focus most of our conversation like the hands-on training. Now, I do want to say that probably we all kind of, admit that this is the best way to train, just, with your hands, and like looking at someone that actually works with their hands for understanding. But then how do we scale? Because, the scalability here is very, very limited, right? You could only show to so many people that are in the room that are actually watching. Well, arguably you could film that experience and people could watch it, but it's not quite the same as being in the same room, being in the same place and asking questions actively. So my question is, for the remainder of the time, if you any of you want to weigh in, how do we scale this experience? Because I think that's what the challenge that we have, it's kind of the main challenge. The expertise exists amongst our group members. There's a million neurons right there interconnected, and tens of thousands of hours worth of expertise. But how do we scale? So Jose, your hand is up, so I know you have some thoughts. Please.
We do here, so we try to scale again, like you said, is recording and things like that. With Interplay again, what I do like with the VR set, and this is, again, even if you have a classroom of 10, 20, and really the VR headsets aren't that crazy expensive. You need to go get the Apple $3,000 one. You can go and get one for, I think the most I paid on ours was like $299. utilizing our vendors sometimes, right? They're always willing to help out and do training and other things. And so what we do here is, example, I did an HVAC class back in January and an electrical class, and got a few of the VRs. Again, you don't have to have multiples, but it's you're 90%, 95% in using those VRs, other than you're actually really there. I mean, you go and jump on my LinkedIn, you're going to see some videos that I posted of some of my guys when I'm doing the EPA class. And literally, they get so immersed that they reach, as they're getting up because they got to get on their knees to charge the unit, they're getting up and they're almost like falling forward because they get so immersed in it. But that all being said, what I love about it is that we're able to cast that onto the screen. And so, say somebody's not able to attend virtually, you can cast that out and they're capturing that and they're seeing exactly what the VR is seeing. So, whoever has that VR, or if you don't want to do it in the VR, you can cast that through those simulations off of the desktop. You still have that option, right? As you take that in and you share your screen. And so that's what I do and utilize, so that they're capturing it. The audience itself is watching and seeing what's going on. What I've seen in my EPA classes and in other classes as well, we've just started out, is when I start seeing the interaction, because sometimes they're like, oh, wait, what am I supposed to do next? We're doing challenge series, and they've watched the videos. We've gone through what the next steps is, let's say for a leak detection, right? And they're like, oh, you need to go to the toolbox and open up the soapy bubbles or get your electronic leak detection. And you have them engaging, kind of shouting out things. So you're impacting them in that way. And you can cast those things. So those are just little tips. I believe one of the gentlemen on here is also using Interplace. There's just what I utilize on how we're able to grab more than just the person that's doing the actual, let's say, testing and so forth. So utilizing the tools that we have within technology. And I mean, the day and age that we live in comparison to probably a majority of us, it started maybe in the early 2000s or even way before that, what we have at our hands right now. And a lot of these apps are free, or we have these resources through our company. So looking and engaging into those types of things, I'm very into utilizing those tools, not just the tools of the trade for us to get, whatever fixed, but now as an educator, a facilitator, I'm looking at every avenue of approach that I could take to get this out to the masses. So that's what I do, and just would say a tip on how I kind of go about. Again, you may not have those things, but we still have other things that we could use in casting that stuff out and recording.
I think that's great, knowing that it's out there, and hopefully there's more accessible to more of us here on the call. Mark Sharp, your hand was up, so you're up next, sir.
Thank you. For me, I noticed a huge deficiency in the skill level of maintenance personnel that were being hired in our part of the country. It's a rare unicorn when somebody walks into your door that has 10, 15 years of experience and is EPA, CPO, KMT, EL, has all the certifications. I mean, you're getting somebody nowadays who has zero experience. We're hiring based off of motivation. Like, can you pass a drug test? That's the first question you have to ask. Do you have reliable transportation? That's the second question you have to ask. And so what we did, in our part of in my part of the country, I'm in South Carolina. We noticed that the level of applicant that we were starting to get had little to no experience. And so we went to our local apartment association and we said, hey, we need to put some things together to provide hands-on training. And so with our local apartment association, the Maintenance Appreciation Committee, we started to do free. We call them the Maintenance Trilogy. So we partner with local suppliers who are part of that sponsorship, and they provide free plumbing classes on electrical and gas water heaters. They provide they bring in vanity bases, and we install sinks and pop-ups and faucets and connect supply lines. We partnered with Entryway and We got people in to knock holes in the wall and repair with sheetrock. And so we partnered with a lot of people at the local apartment association to make this training hands-on. So for us, we found a need. And instead of asking somebody else to come up with it, we did. And come 10, 15 years later, now we have just as many maintenance personnel showing up at apartment association events as we do office personnel, because they're invested in the association and they see what the association is giving back to them. So if you're not doing something locally, I suggest figure it out, jump on it. I'd be happy to help you, tell you what we did, and try to get you a plan that can be presentable to your board, because they're the ones who are going to make the decisions.
Mark, much appreciated, and I appreciate everybody that participated today. I'm sorry that each one of you didn't have like more time to actually speak. There's so much, so many minutes in an hour, just about 60 every single hour. I would like to continue this conversation, 2 weeks from now. There's a lot about technology, how that affects, how that could, help us leverage things when it comes to training. And I think we should stay for another meeting at least on the topic of education. I don't want this to, to go away so fast, because it's so important, as I think, we all agree here on this call. And then there's a lot more out there that, we would need to collectively learn from each other. So I appreciate you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and then see you all in 2 weeks for another session with the topics that we had on our agenda for today, because we haven't really gotten too deep into those. Appreciate you all. Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.